We're back here on Hear the Turtle with Maryland men's lacrosse assistant coach, world-class player, new father. Jesse Bernhardt, you have about as many things going on as anyone right now. Very much appreciate you taking some time. I'm going to start you here. When you feel the feeling of being a world champion and putting USA across your chest, that's got to feel a little bit different than anything you can do. What was it like to take home that title a few weeks ago?
Yeah, it's definitely special. Doing this 3 times, kind of having the experience with it. My first one being on the losing end, and fortunate to be on the winning end. The last two feel a whole lot better than the first one did. But just to have the opportunity to put USA on your chest, and it's a pretty extensive process. Very Olympic-esque in regard to 4 years. So just a lot of time, sacrifice. Competitive, just to even get on the team, let alone have an opportunity to then go compete and win a gold medal, is just something that's very unique, especially in our sport. And I think that's kind of what makes it special.
Taylor, you buried the lead a little. Jesse has a newborn that was born when he was
Yes.
out there in San Diego. James Bernhardt, congrats.
Thanks.
Have you gotten any sleep since you've gotten back?
Yeah, it's been good. I think I was a little worn down coming back from San Diego, playing as much lacrosse as we did, and then obviously coming home to Jace was a great addition. I think my wife's definitely probably taken the brunt of the leg work there so far. So I do my best to help where I can, but it's been great. It's been great. Not used to getting a whole lot of sleep anyway, so not much of a difference.
You're set up perfectly for fatherhood. You put up the Instagram of Jace with the World Championship medal, which was awesome. What a combination of things in the span of a week.
Yeah, it was a little late on the post. It's not really my forte with the social media, but I thought for my teammates and obviously as we discussed before, just having the ability to win a gold medal and then come home to a new son is just something that you don't have happened very often. So might as well, share it with some family and friends out there that, maybe haven't seen or been able to hear about it yet.
Talk about the Maryland influence on the U.S. team. You and four fellow in that Maryland brotherhood on that team. Obviously, a constant on the men's and women's side, having Terps representing the U.S. at a variety of levels, including the senior national team. What was it like to win it with those guys? That's got to make it a little bit more special as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the unique thing about the group of us is we kind of are spread out, through our time. Obviously, myself being the eldest, Mike Earhart's a year below me. Matt Dunn was a freshman when I was a senior. Rambo was a freshman when I was the volunteer, and then CK was a player when I came back as an assistant. So we kind of spanned, through a few years. So kind of had different relationships and different interactions over those times, obviously all being Maryland guys, and the ability to just kind of suit up together and just spend time with each other as we love to do was just something that we couldn't get enough of. And I think it speaks to what Coach Tillman and just the Maryland program has been able to do in terms of the talent that's put out there. There's obviously tremendous talent in the United States from a lacrosse standpoint, and guys trying to make that team. So to have 5 guys represent the U.S. At that stage, obviously I think speaks to those guys individually, but just kind of what kind of people and players we're putting out from Maryland.
You kind of alluded to it in the beginning, but this was your third go around with the World Championships, and you were a captain on this team and one of the leaders for the U.S. team. What was kind of that like, kind of showing the young guys and those whose first experience it was, kind of the ropes and getting this team prepared to win gold?
Yeah, this being my third go around, everyone has been different in pros and con ways. My first one was a year after I graduated from the University of Maryland, so I was the young buck. A lot happening fast. You're kind of just trying to ride the wave, and then being an 18, being a little bit older. We had an older group that year. So, still maybe one of the middle to younger guys on that team. And we had some great, leadership and some older guys that I'd play with. And this being my third go around, wanted to step into a bigger role, Was fortunate to kind of be voted as one of the three captains along with Mike Earhart, another Terp, which was awesome. Just to have those guys kind of select us, I think was something special. And I had such a great experience in 18 with winning the gold and just the connectivity that we were able to bring in that experience. I think a lot of it was just making sure these guys who were doing it for the first time, hopefully got to take away something that I felt the last couple times. And that was the goal. And obviously in the goal, you're not just there to have a good experience, you're there to win. Just provide some insight, just in terms of the international game, just being different and what to expect, playing a 2-week tournament style where we don't play a lot of lacrosse, all year. Some guys play indoor, which is, extensive on the weekends from like the fall to, late spring. And then, the PLL stuff, you're pretty much in and you're out. So it's just a very unique environment. So just trying to kind of pass along as much, feedback and insight as I could to those guys.
How has being a high level coach helped you be a better high level player? You're in such a unique spot that doesn't happen, where you're playing at the highest level you can in your sport, and also you're pretty much at the highest level of your profession you can be as an assistant at a program like Maryland. Has that helped you become a better player, seeing the game that way as you've kind of gotten more experience in your coaching career?
I do. I do. I think some people have kind of made that comment, to me as well, that they think it's definitely helped me, and I firmly do believe that. I get to spend a lot of time around the game of lacrosse, where there's some guys, right, who sit behind a desk and then try to show up and play. Not that they can't do it. There are plenty of dudes who are doing it that are very successful on the field. But I think just to have the ability, just, not every day, of the year, but a lot of days of the year, just be on the field, talking lacrosse, coaching lacrosse, watching film. You just get so many more little experiences here and there that, we don't play lacrosse all year like a college guy. We finished, the PLL finishes in September, and then you kind of pick up, at the very end of May. So there's definitely a long period of time that lacrosse isn't really involved in our lifestyle. So for the ability to coach it, I think it kind of keeps me in lacrosse mode, much longer. And just, I think as I've gotten older and coached a whole lot more, you pick things up, just whether it's conceptually, schematically, that now as a player, I'm able to kind of, transfer over to playing. And I'm not old, but I'm not on the young side either. So, trying to obviously keep up from the athletic standpoint, but I think kind of also evolve, into kind of a communicative role, and that glue guy role, whether it was on Team USA or, in the pros, to kind of push and pull guys to where they need to go, while we're playing, which is, not an easy task to do.
What is that rivalry with Canada like? I feel like you're always the last two standing. Two biggest lacrosse countries. Talk about that rivalry.
Yeah, it's a special one. Obviously, there's a lot of other countries that are doing better. The Haudenosaunee, had a great tournament. They got some talented guys, that were playing. But I think, and I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, the Canadians and Americans have been in that final for a lot of these games, and again, a lot of guys, we've crossed paths in the collegiate ranks, we crossed paths in the pro ranks, so there's a lot of carryover, that kind of leads to that big buildup, and I think, whether you want to call it the pressure or the anticipation, that's kind of what people expect, right? It's going to be, Canada and the United States in that game. So, I think it just makes it, again, special. Those guys obviously have some very talented players as well, super skilled, guys that are doing great things at all levels. It wouldn't be as fun if it wasn't competitive. And I think they obviously for the past few years have brought super competitive teams, to those World Games, and if they were all blowout games, it wouldn't be as exciting to try to go chase and run down that challenge.
There's never really like a lacrosse discussion, I feel like, that doesn't go on without some talk about the game's overall status within sports and popularity. And you have a unique position, as I said, of being a guy that is coaching at a program that, is featured very highly, and then you're playing in the PLL, which has, pushed the game forward from a professional standpoint. When you look at the men's game specifically, how have you kind of seen it grow, not only from the PLL standpoint, which has gotten bigger and given people a lot of opportunities, but the ratings for championship weekend, things like that, on the men's side continue to get better, and the exposure continues to go up. What is kind of your view on all of those things put together?
Yeah, I think just exciting. Like I said, I'm from a playing standpoint, probably on the downward slope more than the upward slope, and that's okay. I think for guys that I coach now, just there's more opportunities than there ever have been. A handful of years ago, to say all you did was play lacrosse as an occupation was a foreign concept, and now there's plenty of guys out there, whether it's Maryland guys or other guys that are doing the indoor and they're doing the outdoor. Now you can compete on the world stage. Hopefully it seems like there's a push for the Olympics, maybe in 2028. Obviously the new style of sixes and things, and everyone has their opinions and all the different rules and styles of the game and things. But I think regardless, and you guys would probably know better than me, it's any publicity is good publicity, so people are talking about lacrosse, right? And that's what you want. I think even after Notre Dame wins, the Kavanaughs are on the Pat McAfee show, things like that. That's just whether, again, take it or leave it for what was said on those shows or anything, it's still lacrosse and it's still being put out there, and the PLL be getting ESPN deals and stuff. Like I said, it's just it's showing the growth of the sport, which is super cool, especially just to see where it came from, and as it's kind of transitioned along to where it is now, I think is just what makes it super cool.
Yeah, and how key has the PLL been in kind of the uprising of lacrosse, and how cool is it for you to be able to travel to a different city each week and kind of see fans there that in areas that you don't think of as lacrosse areas all the time, and be able to play in front of them?
Yeah, I think they've done a great job kind of taking this thing to the next level. A lot of guys coming out of college when I did, especially, and I'm sure even before me, you don't go play pro lacrosse to make millions of dollars. You were playing pro lacrosse because you love playing lacrosse and you love the team atmosphere and the things that came with that. And I think the nice part is those guys have done a good job of kind of moving this thing forward. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better than it was. And again, now you can still not make millions of dollars, but make more and continue to play at an extremely high level. And I think that's what's kind of kept the league moving forward. It's so competitive. You only have so many teams, and there's only so many roster spots to go around. That there's a lot of good lacrosse players on the weekends in the summer that are still sitting at home. And to have the ability to kind of travel around, is definitely it's a unique experience, getting to go to some places that I probably wouldn't be going if I wasn't playing lacrosse. Being a Florida guy, I know what it's like coming from a non-traditional. So, to go to places like Minnesota or Salt Lake City or Dallas, things like that. It's just exciting to see, the enjoyment in the fans and the kids that show up to those games, because they don't get to see that on a daily basis. So, the ability to kind of go out there, even San Diego for the World Games, right? Like it's gotten better, but the turnout at those games was amazing. And just to see like how far people were traveling to watch us play, just gives you a perspective, that years ago we were probably the same kids in those shoes, and hopefully one of those kids watching maybe will be ending up in ours at some point.
Jesse, this sort of relates to PL a little bit. I think it had to do with the Whipsnakes winning the first few of these titles, but you are a part and now kind of at the helm of this Maryland defensive tradition that has been built, even before, you and Coach Tillman were around, but now has really been taken to the next level with all the guys. I mean, you talk about a guy like Matt Dunn with you on the World Championship team, obviously Earhart, who, is playing long stick as well, and all of the, Makar, a first round pick this year. They're just, you churn through them, and the system is just unbelievable. What has that been like for you, going from a player to a coach, and the way you guys are just all connected and so disciplined on that defensive side. It's always, been amazing to me how guys come in, they're bought in, and it's just you guys are good again in defensively, and then you're good again defensively.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot that goes into it. It starts with bringing in the right guys, and I think as you hit it, there were plenty of good defensemen before I showed up at University of Maryland or Coach Tillman did. Going back to Brian Reese and Mike Farrell, and the list goes on. Plenty of good guys that kind of started that thing off, and I think for a guy in my shoes who was blessed to be able to kind of carry that torch a little bit forward and then continue now as a coach is just to kind of keep the standard. I didn't necessarily create the standard. I was fortunate to be a part of it, and I think we've been given a nice blueprint of what it kind of means to play defense at University of Maryland, and we've had some awesome players that you mentioned in the past few years, and I think that just shows the guys that are in the locker room and the guys that we try to recruit, like they embody what it means, and everyone's a little bit different in their styles. Mike Gerhardt's a big 6'5" guy. I'm not quite 6'5". A guy like Nick Grill who came in, he's not quite 6'5" either. I think it's just obviously the talent, but the ability, for us to kind of have guys to point out to, even our current guys, to say, well, this is what these guys did when they were here, and look what they were able to kind of continue with the legacy. So if we're not really meeting that, then obviously we're kind of coming up short on the standard. And I think it kind of takes care of itself. It's always exciting to see, and I think we got some great guys in the hopper. Like I said, it's kind of its own brotherhood in a way, just to be able to say you played Maryland or played defense at the University of Maryland, and you can have other people say or put you in the same category. It still puts me at all to say, man, people talk about me in maybe a realm of some of those other guys. I think that's pretty special, and definitely a compliment to the guys that maybe I played with or came before me.
We'll ask you what it was like, to coach when Jared was dominating, for Maryland, how cool that was. But what was it like this past year to be able to coach with your brother Jake and be on the same staff and kind of be around each other all day and throw ideas off each other with Tillman?
Kess, I think this is the first time he's ever been asked about his brother. So we're getting this will be.
Well,
we're breaking some news here.
I will say it took us 17 minutes.
I think that's impressive. That's got to be the first time.
That might be a record.
Yeah, it's usually about Jared, not me anyway. So now it'll be about my son and not me, which is already turning that way, which is cool. I'm happy with the spotlight not on me. But it was great. Jake and I we're less than a year apart in age. We're actually Irish twins. So we kind of grew up doing everything together. Pretty much played on every single sport team growing up. I was always just bumped up just to be on his team. I think the few times maybe we weren't together when he was a freshman at Maryland and I was a senior in high school, and then obviously we reconnected and we lived together all 4 years in College Park. And then when he went up to Vermont to kind of do his thing up there, that's not an easy place to get to. Obviously staying in touch, but not maybe seeing each other as frequently as we had been used to growing up. And now to have the ability to have him come back and, we carpool into work when we can. So just kind of, flipping a complete 180, just spending a lot of time together. We're still brothers, so we have our moments, but that's part of being brothers. And just been super neat to kind of, have them on the sideline. Like I said, just being at practice and all the givens of coaching is great, but there's driving to work together, things like that, that you kind of take for granted. You just don't get to do as you get older, with family or friends. So the ability to kind of have him around has been awesome. And I thought he, stepped in and, did a great job this year. And I know the guys took to him, super quickly, which, was no surprise. He's a Maryland guy through and through. Just super excited to obviously have him and continue to have him. And I know as he kind of gets his feet wet even more, he's just going to continue to do great things.
Yeah, Ben touched on it though. Obviously, you've watched your youngest brother have an amazing college career, and then go out and play football for a little bit there, and do that. How just proud of him were you, as a coach and as a brother, to accomplish all of those things? Really, kind of doing it the right way. He was just like the consummate. I remember we were just watch him do his thing. I'm like, this guy's just a consummate professional out there. He's just like doing his thing, just going about his business. What was it like for you as a brother, kind of watching that all unfold?
Yeah, it was special. When he was playing and I was coaching, just a different dynamic. I think at times you could catch yourself kind of watching him when he's on the field, but when you're in the middle of the game or practice, I got a thousand other things I'm thinking of, or guys I'm trying to talk to and correct and stuff. So you can kind of lose sight of maybe some of the special things that he was doing. And then I think on the flip side, once he kind of went into the football realm, I could kind of step back and be, just more brother and spectator. And I will say, I think I get more stress and anxiety watching him play from the stands than I did actually standing on the sideline coaching him. Um, but but yeah, it was great, for him to have that experience and kind of chase a goal and a dream to kind of do that and just take it as far as he could. There was no expectations, pressure, from any of us. It was just a guy kind of putting in the work and taking the things that he learned at Maryland and kind of carrying them on. So just to kind of see him to have that continued success is, as you said, it's just something to be proud of. And whatever he chooses to kind of do moving forward.
How special and fun was it for you going to work every day during the 2022 season, where you guys are considered one of the most dominant teams of all time?
Yeah, I think few years before that, I think made 2022 easy to have fun with the cancellations and just the restrictions we had. I think pretty much doing anything with a group of people, without wearing a mask, I think was going to be special. But no, that group, it was one. When we take a few seconds to reflect, which we don't do in a whole lot. It was just a great group of obviously lacrosse players and a team, but the guys I think on that team just had a tremendous bond, and I think when I look back and I get to see a lot of them still, on a weekend basis in the summer, like the Romans, the Higgins, the Bubbas, the Ray Hills. I'm playing with Alex Smyth right now, so he's got to still deal with me on the weekends. I think, just for me and that group, when I came in, a lot of those guys, we were pretty much on the same path, right? They came in as freshmen, and that was one of my first years, being back at Maryland as a coach. So we kind of went through the ringer together a little bit, per se. And I think, by 2022 kind of being the culmination of that, and the success on the field speaks for itself. But I think it was definitely more to it, especially off the field. And, I'm just super appreciative that, those guys, allow me to kind of still stay a part of their life and, stay in touch with them and, sending them pictures of the baby and stuff like that. And, so I think, to me, that's what it's about. It's the ability to have those relationships, far past, what guys are doing in the 4 years that they're playing or 5 years that they're playing at Maryland. And I think, the fact that we kind of can still have that connection just, shows what type of guys they were. And again, I think the lacrosse speaks for itself. They did something not a lot of people can ever say they did. It made my life really easy, which was helpful. But again, I'll probably remember the off the field stuff way more than some of that on the field stuff.
We'd be remiss if we didn't ask about your head coach, John Tillman, who, coached you as a player, and you now, go into battle with as a coach every week, who has, made the program into, even an elevated version beyond, I think, what people may have thought, with the two national titles and the consistency of going to championship weekend, and has gotten so much buy-in culture-wise from the guys that you bring in recruiting. what has it been like to both play for him and then transition and coach with him, and kind of his evolution as the leader of the Maryland program? Where now I think if you talk to Maryland fans and they had to list off the guys that they trusted the most, they would say John Tillman would be one of the first three people off their list.
Yeah, it's been great, in the grand scheme of this. I'm still a young guy. When I came back, I think I'm going on year 7 now, which is kind of hard to believe. So when I came back, I'm still was in my mid 20s. So a lot to learn. I kind of had 2 quick stints, at Rutgers and Princeton, and so to have the ability to obviously play for Coach Tills, down the stretch there. We had great success, and I thought he did a great job of kind of continuing to build on the traditions and things that were kind of set before he came to Maryland, and then now being back, just to have the ability to kind of be around someone from a mentor standpoint. And just want to soak up and learn what I can. Like I said, in no way, shape, or form do I have this coaching thing figured out. There's plenty to learn, but he's been very instrumental in kind of being a sounding board, and just kind of being able to sit back and also see him evolve. Right, when he came in, obviously coach has been there. Geez, I think 13 years now, so I'm making him sound old. So he's, I've seen changes in him, from as a player, when I was a player, to how he is now. And I think that's a credit to him. Some people can get very stubborn and stuck in their ways. This is how we do things. And other people, are willing to kind of evolve and adapt as the times change, because, kids have changed in certain ways, recruiting and NIL and all these things, the landscape of lacrosse. So the ability to kind of adapt has been something I think, as a program, he's kind of been able to kind of keep up with the times. And just to have the consistency, the program has had over the course of, his tenure, is, I think, a credit to, what he's been able to bring. And though, again, just like the 22 team, lacrosse is a small fraction, and piece to the success that Maryland's had. It's a lot of the other behind the scenes stuff that, we still make sure is relevant, is important to us at Maryland, because, the standards and those things, they're not going to change. And, we got to make sure we're still kind of, meeting those, and exceeding those. So just like I said, to have the ability at times just to kind of sit back, pick his brain about something, learn something here or there, I know is definitely going to pay dividends down the line for me.
You guys this past season have had a lot of depth and a lot of young players that were contributing. What excites you about your current group and what you've added this summer as you go to the fall and then 24?
Yeah, I think we've always had talented guys. I think most teams out there are plenty of talented guys playing college lacrosse. I think it's just how you put those pieces together. And I think we have some guys coming back from some injuries. To your point, we have some young guys who will be coming back, and obviously now being old guys. We had a lot of guys. We had some guys playing new positions for the first time. So we definitely had a lot of new in ways, and I think we have a hungry group coming back and an excited group coming back, which is kind of what you need. You look at all those teams making the playoffs last year. I think 7 out of the 8 in the quarterfinals weren't in the NCAA tournament last year. So the ability to kind of have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, as demonstrated by the way the NCAA tournament worked out, I think is super important. So every year is a new year. It's a new journey that we go on. That last year is over. The 2022 year is over. This will be obviously the 23-24 team's year. And it's just exciting just to see other guys step up. There's always guys that come in, whether it's freshmen, new guys who have been in the locker room that are now older guys that fill different roles, maybe that didn't play and now play, right? And that's what kind of makes it unique, and just kind of makes it exciting that every year is going to be different. No 2 years are ever going to be exactly the same, and just you never know what you're walking into, and I think that's what makes it fun.
Jesse, we'll get you out of here. I want a few rapid fire questions. First, you've, played against the best for a long time now. Who's the toughest guy for you to defend that you go against week to week?
Oof. Can I say? Well, he's not going to say week to week, but he's not week to week. But we've had a few battles ourselves, maybe back home, and I would say Jared is a pretty tough cover.
Not a bad answer.
Who's the Maryland alum that's trash talking you the most?
Maryland alum trash talking me most. I'm going to say Earhart.
There you go. A couple captains going back and forth. Jesse, what show are you streaming right now?
Oof. Haven't been streaming a ton with the new.
Well, you don't have a lot of time right now, so I guess it's kind of tough right now.
Seinfeld reruns.
Oh, that always plays.
Yeah. Your favorite city you've traveled to in the PLL?
Favorite city I've traveled to? Oof. San Diego. Oh, well, for the World Game, San Diego. I could take that weather with me anywhere.
And then final one, and you're a good person to ask this too because you were here as a student athlete and as a coach. Your favorite place to eat in College Park?
Ooh, geez, favorite place to eat in College Park. I'll go with the standard. We'll go RJ Bentley's.
There you go. 2 out of the last 3 have said Bentley. Swope said Bentley's 2 weeks ago. Right. And now Jesse says Bentley. So those are the people that played here. That's who's representing with the Bentley stock. Jesse, thanks so much for coming on, man. Congrats on all of the success this summer, and congrats on the newborn. And can't wait to have Maryland men's lacrosse back on our lives come this spring. Very much appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse. Great stuff, man.
All right, guys.
Have a great day.
See ya.
That was great.